position ourselves in a place where we can springboard from the year 2020 and continue upgrading and evolving the technology program for Cypress Fairbanks. Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer Rodriguez, Cypress Ridge HS. What are some future plans with integrating more technology with education?
I think, as far as integrating technology with education, I think these are my personal opinions, but somewhat of the district as well, is that the integration of technology into all curricular areas is certainly going to expand. I believe that there will be increased personalized learning at your own pace, so that the standard education of learning through scope and sequencing, through the standard types of classroom traditional environments that we have today, I think will be blended with a collaborative environment so that students can learn at their own pace and achieve at a higher level, depending on what their needs are and depending on what their interests are.
Alright, so how do you decide what schools get some new technology first,
Yeah.
like elementary schools, middle schools, or high schools?
Well, as we discussed, when we laid out the plan for the 2014 bond, we were very clear about what our priorities were, which made it really easy for us from an implementation perspective. We looked at the high schools first, then the middle schools, then the elementary schools, and we are still at the point now where we're starting to work at the service center level. We did have a lot of debate about which schools to upgrade first. So, for example, once we made the decision to work on the high schools, which high schools do you work at first? And so what we tried to do and what we did successfully do is that we looked at the schools that had the greatest need, the schools that we felt would get the greatest benefit. We had some schools that were operating, for example, colleague help me, I think it was Lakes, that had very low connection to the internet, much lower than some of the other campuses, and so certainly that was the school that we looked at to upgrade first. So we did the very best that we could to make very wise decisions, putting the students and the teachers' needs as close to the top of the priorities we could. Sometimes it didn't make sense to follow the exact priority based on need, but wherever we could do so, we did. An interesting story just recently, when Polk Elementary was built. It was built in 2013 and it actually opened in August of 2013. And in that Bridgeland area, all of the connections that would provide network access and internet access, because of that community, all of the lines, electricity power lines in some neighborhoods, had to be buried. And so the company that we used to provide connectivity did not build at that time in that area underground. So we had to use AT&T, another provider. And so for the last 3 years, that school was on an older connection, and there was not really anything that we could do about it. Until recently, the provider that we use for internet and for networking moved their services into that area, and so we were able to bring up Polk Elementary onto our enterprise network. And the principal there, kind of jokes around and says when they turned it on, it blew everything out. It was just so fast. And so to be able to have that kind of an impact for teachers and students that really demand fast access, I think was rewarding. And there's a lot of different examples like that. But you guys, if you're big high school students, you're probably just like me. If you're a working, say at Starbucks or any location, and you don't have instant access, you just start, turning the thing on and off. I mean, do you do that? It's like, where's the speed here? It's gotta be instant, because that's what we demand. We have to have, it's almost like we have this need for speed, and it's gotta be quick or we're not gonna use it. I'm not gonna use it. I'm just gonna turn it off and go work somewhere else. It's gotta be instantaneous. And I think that's the level of expectation that we have now. I know I do.
Kirby Niermeyer, Cyfair High School. What kind of things do you look for when choosing new technology for the district?
The biggest and best. I think the students of Cypress Fairbanks and certainly the administrative team deserve the very best. When you educate the best and you're living in one of the best communities in the state, possibly in the nation, then the community and the students and the staff deserve the very best. And so that's what we look for. And we try to do our homework to make the right selection so that the technology will last and it will meet the students and the teachers' needs for what they're trying to do in the classroom and instruct with students. And so certainly we look for technologies that have been proven to the very best of our ability, technologies that we feel will have a direct correlation in resulting in higher achievement and academic performance.
Greg Malinsky, Cyfair High School. With Side Park opening this year and Bridgeland opening next year, when other new campuses open up, how involved is your department with some of the infrastructure, with new technologies or things that they're kind of excited about? And is there anything that will be upcoming in a new campus that is kind of exciting?
Well, first of all, a campus doesn't open up without the infrastructure. For example, Paul and I were talking in the corner about West Green Transportation. That's the new transportation facility. Without the infrastructure, without the connectivity to the network, the campus cannot operate phones. They cannot get access to the internet, which means you can't control the building automation systems, air conditioning. So normally the technology infrastructure is, once the school is built, the connectivity has to be there. And so we have a lot of pressure in our district to keep up with the construction. As a matter of fact, we took one of the individuals that worked on our team and said, we're going to repurpose you to be the project manager of making certain that all of our renovations and our new facilities are better coordinated, because we realized that through the building of Cy Park, and now we're at Bridgeland, we have other elementary schools, that the coordination with all of our vendors that provide services, networking infrastructure, was just something that we had to address at a greater priority. One of the things that we've done in our district, because of the size, with almost 115,000 students, is that when we laid out the infrastructure, we set forth 6 network hubs that are designed to basically create a subgroup of schools that connect to a hub. So for example, Cy Woods is a hub, Berry Center is a hub, Lyle Junior School is a hub. We have Cy Ranch is a hub, I'm listening to. Cy Woods, I think I've already said that, but what we decided to do with the 6 hubs to take care of all the new construction that is being built out in the southwest side of the town, so we now have a 7th hub that is going to be installed and designed into the Bridgeland High School. And so we'll be rerouting Cy Park and all of the new facilities to that hub. So it's basically just a point of connection that provides connectivity to the surrounding schools. And so that's how we've laid out our district, and it's it's working very, very well, and we're very proud of it.
Hi there, I'm Kate Chaudel from Jersey Village High School. I got quite a few questions actually.
Fantastic.
The first one is that for the past couple of years, students have been restricted on a lot of websites. However, recently, moreover from last year to this year, teachers have been restricted from a lot of different things, whereas the students are now able to access websites, mainly being admin privileges for the teachers in that they can't fully access all the parts of the computer that they need to, such as downloading or possibly updating certain programs. I'm just wondering why that shift from last year.
Well, two things really. We talked about two different, I think, areas of conversation. The first is blocking of sites, internet filtering and blocking of sites. We have an internet governance content filtering committee where we have principals, members of our district, as well as our legal counsel that participate on that committee. I hate to use the word rules, but the policies are that there is, in between cyber attacks, in between appropriate information, the rigor that we are now required to adhere to has really necessitated that we lock down the network even greater, say today, than we did even 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or 1 year ago. What we have tried to do is bring about a balance between safety and security and access. And so what we have are 4 profiles. We've got elementary school student profiles, junior school, middle school profiles, high school profiles, and then administrative staff. And so when you log on to the network, you're joined into a profile group. So you would be in Jersey Village, you would be in the high school profile. And so that committee has basically has embarked upon a process of using a content filtering software, which we call FortiGuard, kind of like a fortress, is where the name came from, I believe, that is a combination of firewalls, which we have 11, and in software that restricts inappropriate sites and also manages sites to keep users safe on the network and to ward off, you might say, cyber attacks and any other kind of dangers that could be out on the internet. The second is controlling the device so that if malware or if there is some sort of an attack that enters into the district devices, that those devices will be completely locked down. So the registries are locked down. You can't alter the devices in any way. For example, I'm a regular user. I have the same set of privileges in my job as Chief Technology Officer as your principal or as anyone else that's working in this room. So if it can work for me, hopefully it can work for everyone. We hopefully have a process in place. For example, at all of our high schools, we have 2 technicians. You know who your technicians are at Jersey Village. You've got Rock and Lewis. They're some of the best in the district, and hopefully they're readily available. That if there is a need, then the teachers, the staff, even the students can request the appropriate alterations to the devices so that they'll be able to do or accomplish any task that's needed. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So that second part was that along with the 2 technicians to our high school, I actually had a chance to talk to Mr. Valentine, and he said that there is about 15 to 18,000 computers alone in Jersey Village, and that is between 2 technicians, and that's not including projectors, smart boards, TVs, all that stuff they also have to go through. And I myself am in computer science and advanced animation, and in there it is very important to keep our software up to date, especially our computer science teacher feels very strongly on that. as he has not been able to update as frequently as he'd like or make changes to the program as he needs. And so it's more of just how come not give like a certain certification kind of test, or at least give those that have qualified in maybe computer sciences or have some other former training to be able to use that.
Well, that's the policy that we currently have in place today. And regardless of the training or certification, the beauty of this field is that it changes daily, even hourly, in terms of locking down the network and keeping it safe. We hope that administrators and teachers will work in an environment that's safe and secure, and that their environment that they work in will be totally dedicated to instruction, and that's where their focus of their time will be. There would be no way that it would be very difficult. There's always a way. It would be very difficult for anyone that's not focused 100% of their time in the field of technology to be able to keep up with the updates and the changes. Now, one of the things that we've done, and we've done very well, this summer we rolled out LandDesk, which is an administrative device software that actually does automated, what we call pushes to the devices. Prior to that, we were using a very old, archaic system that did not lend itself to be able to automate software and push software out to certain devices and to keep them updated. We're coming off of upgrading about 60,000 devices this summer, and we're stabilizing, but it was a hard summer to get through, and so we're really working to make better use of what the capabilities are of LandDesk, and have a lot of great hope in the future that it's going to make the process more efficient.
All right, but
Can I say one other thing about that, sir, is that there's also software licensing issues. We had the conversation just today. So, this district has paid a good sum of money for violations, fines for software licensing issues. So in other words, if you buy a software license, I think we all do it, I hope I'm not on tape, but you buy a software license and you install it on two, you're really only supposed to install it on one. You might do that personally and you're taking responsibility for it. But in a very large district such as ours, if it is that there are any violations of software installations and the systems are not locked down, then the district really is liable, and we've had cases where that's been the case. We just this week had a teacher, and I think he or she did not know that we didn't have a license, but wanted software installed, wanted software updated, but there was a fee associated with that license cost. So it was something that we couldn't do unless we agreed to pay for the upgrade. So, there are some legal ramifications as well.
I'm Leslie Francis, Director of
Yes.
Marketing for Cypress ISD. In the course of your career, what are the 2 or 3 most significant changes in technology that you've seen? And 2-part question, what emerging technology are you most excited about that's in our future?
I think what's changed is the expectation of what wireless technologies can bring. Say even 10 years ago, it really was not a requirement of the Technology Services Department to provide access, ubiquitous access across an entire facility from a wireless perspective. Now that's just a given expectation. If we don't have wireless, where's my wireless? It's almost as if we can't work. The other is the expansion, the need for faster internet speeds. We're now managing and using software that actually sits up in the cloud. And so if the connection is not available, then you might be out of luck if it is that you have a presentation and you don't have it on who buys flash drives anymore? You expect you open up your device and it's going to be on Google Doc, it's going to be on Office 365, and if it's not, the phones are going to ring off the hook. So I think those are certainly 2 things. I think if we look in the future, we've designed our network at the high schools so that students can bring up to 3 devices in and work in the classroom. through, say, a tablet, phone, and a laptop. And so I think for the future, wearable technology is, we already have the watches. I think there'll be more of that type of technology, maybe more virtual reality, being able to experience other parts of the country just based on, where you're sitting in the classroom, and bringing more rich technologies and instruction to classrooms is certainly exciting. I could really spend the rest of our talk about the exciting technologies. I think personalized learning, I think we all know, I have 3 daughters that have all graduated from high school and college. The classes are paced at the level of how the class moves. I think personalized learning offers a different style of education that works well for some, to allow others to move faster and achieve more in a personal way.
Rodrigo Rojas from Cypress Ridge. So if a student or teacher believes like a website or app should be unblocked, how could they go about requesting it?
If you've ever noticed, if you get a site that is blocked, there is a link where you can call a customer care center support number and request that it be unblocked. You'll need to have the website address readily available. The other way is to submit a service request to get it unblocked. And I think as a student, your process is always to work directly through your classroom teacher, and certainly there's avenues to request services through the administration, depending on the type of access that's being acquired. I think what's interesting is what appears to be something that's very, a website that's very innocent. Sometimes there's hot links buried within the site that move off into other areas that aren't inappropriate for students, and so we check them out very carefully, and we still sometimes make mistakes, and we don't catch everything. We don't advertise that we're 100% safe. We do everything in our power to keep the network safe for all students.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm Rebecca Hill from Cypress Ridge High School. Just with all the new equipment that we're getting, what happens to the old equipment? Is it being sold? Do we filter it down to the other campuses?
I think it's a variety. In some cases, we move the equipment to auction. In some cases, we save the equipment for spare parts. In other cases, we redistribute that equipment. So, for example, those content areas that are getting the interactive display boards, the projectors that are coming out of those rooms, we're taking those projectors and moving them off to the side and repurposing those that are either out of warranty or no longer available to work. And so we're doing the very best that we can to bring in new technology, get rid of the old, or repurpose it so that we save as many efficiencies and costs that's possible.
Louise Duquin, Cypress Ridge High School. What do you hope to improve or accomplish for CFISD in the next 5 years?
Well, certainly, as I mentioned earlier, it is the successful completion of the 2014 bond, and to do more than was actually presented to our Board of Trustees. They put a lot of trust in our district staff to deliver what we said that we were going to deliver. So on the near term, there's really not anything that's going to take me away from that focus. One of the things in a career is that you've got to do what you say you're going to do, especially if you stand up in front of the community, and the community has put their trust in you. The same with you in whatever in your class. If it is that you said that you're going to deliver homework, you're going to make a certain grade. It's really the same concept. It's just at a higher level to deliver on whatever it is that you say that you're going to do. So that's certainly my goal. But it's not the end goal. The end goal is really to deliver far more than we said that we were going to deliver, either through cost savings or through there being newer technologies that are available, and we may decide to make some changes, that they will always be pretty rapid. It will not be that we will deliver anything less than what we said that we were going to do.
Kirby Newmeyer, Sapphire High School. Is there any specific times of the year where your field is most busy?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. It used to be that there were more cycles of downtime. It's getting to where now that the gap in the summer is less than it used to be. And we're using summer to make major upgrades because we have time. For example, this summer, we installed elementary wireless at the elementary schools, which really required installing a complete wireless system in the morning and in the afternoon, 2 schools a day, 2 complete teams making radical, huge changes. So, summertime was busy. Getting ready for school startup is unbelievably busy, especially when we have renovations and new schools. Anytime there's a new school, it takes some of our staff's focus off of the existing schools to bring up a new school, and then the renovations, and then just the working around. We wouldn't think this would be an issue, but the cleaning schedule, carpet cleaning and floor waxing. Sometimes it requires moving all that equipment out, and then you got to move it all back in and get it all connected. So to answer your question, is there a slow period? I guess if there is a slow period, it would be coming up after Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, because there's like that 3 weeks there, and then there's breaks on both sides, and so that's probably some of the slower times that we have. I think Paul and I had a conversation just this week and said, well, maybe we're going to have a little bit of a break, and we'll come back refreshed because our team is extremely tired.
Can I ask a novice question?
Sure.
I'm Stephanie Shaw with the principal at Cypress Ridge High School. But as you're looking at putting in infrastructures, I'm sure there's quite a few that you can choose from. And as you can see with Cypress ISD being such a huge district, that, how do you keep up with what is and the quality of the systems that you're putting in and making sure that we're on the cutting edge? How do y'all keep up with that? Because you're not only putting the systems in, but you're also trying to forward think out there. How does that take
Well, there's really a couple of things, and it's really not that hard, and that's a common question. First of all, we spend time, and sometimes we ask ourselves, do we really have time to go to, say, a state level CTO conference? I'm, and also my staff is involved in organizations, associations. For example, there is a Texas K-12 CTO council that has every district, most of the large ones for sure, represented. We have monthly calls. For example, tomorrow's Thursday, so there's a 2-hour call tomorrow. Just yesterday, I was at Spring Branch with 8 of the larger school districts in our area, and so it's a very casual lunch, 2-hour meeting talking about issues, the kinds of things we talked about, where cyber attacks, malware, and so I think there's a lot of power in numbers, and we spend a lot of time collaborating and working together. And then at the national level, every state has a CTO council, and at the national level, there's 50 of us, chapters that meet once a year. But it's more than just meeting, it's having a network that you can reach out to and say, hey, are you having this issue, or are you having that issue? So that's one way. It's really all about, I think, human relationships. I think a lot of people think this job is about networks and hardwired wireless networks. What's more important is just as important, if not more important, is the human relationships that are formed to be able to work with others that have the same type of positions that you have, to share best practices and information. And then second, I think we always stick with the Gartner report. We really don't take a chance and purchase anything but name brand technology. So if you look at any technology that we've brought into this district, it's all name brand. And normally it comes down to 1 or 2. And so I said earlier, we rarely purchase any technology that's not proven. So for example, the wireless technology that we're using, it's the same technology that's used in airports. It's the same technology that's used in college and universities, the same technologies that national football leagues use. And so there's power in numbers and proven technologies. And so at no time, I don't think you would ever see us going to the board with some outlandish technology that's not been proven and is not at the top of the Gartner group in terms of the highest level of quality. The other is we hire consultants with our implementation. We're not implementing the technology by ourselves, the new technology. We're employing groups of what we call strategic partners that are working with us to bring their brightest and best to work alongside of us for the implementation. That's a great question.
It's me again, Kate Shout-out, JB.
Okay. I like Jay really.
He's pretty awesome. So, along with the certain admin privileges, along with being able to download software, update and such, it also restricts the use of certain items, such as name. As you mentioned, you purchased name brand items to help assist in teaching. However, in our computer science program, we were given 10 iPads to help program, and that's a really cool thing, except it's admin locked. And we can't use it unless they come in every time to unlock it, in which case we would not be able to program it. And we also don't have Macs to be able to program with the iPads. So we have 10 iPads sitting on a shelf that we can't use via admin or technologically standpoint. And the Androids are locked too with admin. And so it's not so much as being able to let every teacher have every single privilege and right as all the other ones, but more of just finding the few special cases. Like, we only have one computer science teacher at JV, and we have maybe 10 or so different computer science related areas, and to me that just doesn't seem like a whole lot of problems could come up from just having such a small amount, having access to being what they need to use with that kind of stuff.
I can certainly sympathize with you, because I think I shared with you that at the core of what my education and what I enjoy doing is actually computer programming. So I certainly appreciate you and your interest. What I can say at my level, and probably a couple of levels down, I've not heard that computer science has 10 iPads. That's never come to my attention. I really didn't even know we had purchased iPads for any high school. So the first question that I would ask is, where did the iPads come from? The second thing is that computer science probably falls underneath career and technology. I could certainly take an action, or your teacher could take an action to research what the true capabilities and true needs are for your program. We have, for example, a Cisco networking class that's out of Cy Creek, I think it is, with Tom Halbert. We have worked very hard to create an environment for him so that his students can become Cisco certified, network certified. So we have created a somewhat of a mini network for him so that he can make changes and do what he needs to do, which is somewhat similar to what you're trying to do. So I know from my perspective, I would do anything imaginable that I could to help your team be able to have the tools that they need. In all honesty, I'm not certain, how the iPads came about, but can take an action to look at that. It's not a policy that we've set into place, other than that one of our primary goals is to keep our network pristine and operational at all times.
Diana Rogers from Cypress Ridge High School, and I was wondering, how many cyber attacks does the CFISD school district do?
Well, believe it or not, we have been so fortunate, and I think it's because we have selected a variety of tools. We don't just rely on one tool. This entire year, we've not had, our network has, we've not suffered any downtime in our network. If we have had a cyber attack, it's been one that could be isolated to an individual device. I'm unaware of any large scale at the campus, at the lab level, and certainly not any at the district level that has had any kind of an impact on our network at all. Paula, I'll refer to you. That's really one of your areas.
Last year, we did have several DDoS attacks, and to tag on to your security question, part of that reduced the risk there for DDoS attacks. It also increased, some complaints at the edge with access, but it did reduce the DDoS attacks, so increased security measures.
Dominique Escobar from Cypress Ridge High School. So, how do we stack up with other Houston area districts in terms of technology?
Well, I mean, of course, we're going to say we're the very best. What I can say is that I'm completely in tune with every district in the entire state. I know exactly what products they're purchasing, what strategy they're using, and what they're buying. And I would say I'd like to say with 100% confidence that we're the very best. But different parts of the technology services department do different things. What I can say is that we're on the radar at the national level and are known as building one of the biggest and best networks in the nation. And this is outside of Texas. And that is based on something called the SEND, S-E-N-D, Smart Education Network by Design. You can look that up. It's under the Consortium of School Networking. And basically what it is, it's a requirement that sets forth a standard for districts to work towards to provide the perfect computing and networking environment. So when we built our bond, built out the infrastructure for our bond, that's exactly the blueprint that we've used. So for example, we have 2 internet service providers, not just one. It would be like at your home, you'd be so concerned that you'd lose one, that you say, I need AT&T and I need Verizon, all on the same phone. That's kind of what we have. We have 2 service providers. We have 3 data centers, one of which is outside of the district. It's at a facility that's located in another part of the community where there's large banks and other types of companies that also sit there, not just school districts. The other is that we're working, we have redundant connections to all of our schools, and we're working to assure that redundant connection is available. In some of our areas, we have the single connection, but not the double, but that's our design for the future, so that if one part of the community has some sort of an outage, the other connection will turn on and you will never notice the difference. There's the size of the network. We're the 3rd largest network in the state, but it's the design of the network that sometimes gets overlooked. The design of our network is extremely robust, and it's for the purpose that we set forth in this bond to develop it using the requirements of the SIN requirements.
Hi, I'm Lizette from Cyridge. Have you, since we have so much technology here at schools and all that, have you ever faced any problems that you couldn't handle, like maybe having to bring somebody outside of the district to come
Every
handle
day, every day. That's what we do. I mean, literally, we all have jobs, but the types of systems that we're bringing in to implement are complex, and so it requires specialized services. So, we face problems every day that we meet and put our minds together and say, who can help us solve this problem? For example, I think it was last Thursday, we were right in the middle of a phone upgrade to voice over IP. That was actually at Cy Falls, and I sat with our project manager, and it just looked like there would be no way that we could get the job done. It was too complex, too big, and so we racked our brains. Who can help us get this job done? That was the conversation. And we came up with some solutions, and by the next day, we had a new strategy for moving forward, and we had a new person start on our team as a consultant, working with our project manager on Monday. So that's really just part of this job. You won't be successful in this job without looking outside for others that can help you get this position done, get the job requirements done, because it's just so complex.
I'm Roxanne Olivier from Cypress Ridge, and I was wondering what kind of advice would you give to a student wanting to join the field of technology?
Well, the first thing that I might do is, certainly look for intern positions, because you may think that this would be the type of position that you'd be interested in. It's just like that story I told you. I thought I wanted to be a radiologist. Certainly maybe intern, maybe do some part-time work in the summer. We often hire part-time staff. Take some of your classes that are in the area of computer information systems. Talk to others that work in the field, and say, describe how your day starts and what you like about your day. I think there's a lot of avenues. I think this is a great field for women especially. So if you're interested, you're welcome to contact me on
I'm Madison Kozowski from Cypress High School. So I've been noticing a lot of new technology like around our school,
That's a
especially
good thing.
like the Promethean boards and everything. And I was just wondering, when do you realize and decide that it's time to start to upgrade the technology and add new things into the school?
Well, I think if you look at we have such a great example with our district in the year 2013, 2014, when the district decided to move forward with the bond. That gave us the impetus to look at all the technologies that were available and to conduct about 6 months of research. But now that we're in the middle of the bond, we still, not that we laid out the plan for the bond, and said, this is what we said we're gonna buy, we're only gonna buy this. We look at the changing needs and the changing requirements, and try to buy the biggest and best that will carry us the furthest that we can with the amount of funds that we have allocated. So I think there's not just a ever-ending point, it's not a destiny, it's like a journey that we're constantly looking to try and buy and bring into the district technologies that will have the greatest opportunity for increased learning for students.
Hi, okay. Have you ever been in a position where another school or company or whatever has sought you out to seek advice from you or something?
Well, I mean, that's really what we do when, yesterday when I met with some of the local area chief technology officers and some of the conferences. I don't want to say that they seek me out. I think we have a very strong network and we all seek one another out. We've worked together for a long time. We do have a mentorship program, and I participate in that because one of the challenges is that there's not a lot of chief technology officers, and so one of our responsibilities is to bring up younger chief technology officers or aspiring chief technology officers so that when we retire, there will be plenty of opportunities to move up. That's why I think this is a great field for any of you that might be interested in technology because there's so many openings and so many positions. There's going to always be a need for chief technology officers, not only in education but in every field, whether it be healthcare, whether it be in service, any type of management position.
As Chief Technology Officer for Cyfair, who reports to you and what are the job functions?
Well, we have basically 6 teams, and all 6 of those teams report to me. The first is the Customer Care Center, and that's really the help desk. We've expanded that to include all of our service management procedures. In other words, looking at what was completed for a given day and what we're working on for the next day. That now is a 6 in the morning to 8 in the evening operation. We have technology support for technicians, which that's where For example, here at Cy Ridge, we have Susan and we have Jair Garza. Can't say Susan's last name. Yeah, Platiska. So that's the second component. We also have another team that does assets, in other words, tracks all the devices, acquisitions, which involves purchasing the devices, and then service, which we actually call sustainability, which is all of the service that goes along with providing technology to campuses. We have device imaging and integration, which is all of our LAN desks, which is all of our edge devices, network infrastructure and communications. That would be all of our enterprise communication networks, all of our network management and operations, all of where your H drive, where all your files are, all your connectivity, all of the phone systems. And then we have information services and applications, which is where all of the student accounting, so all of your grades, your transcripts, your mobile family app, all of your medical records, and then all of the business and financial services, which is how we pay vendors, how we make payroll, so all of the business services associated with school business. So those are the teams, and there's a total of 131. So large teams.
So, when one comes on to like the campus, they have an option to, when they have like their device and they want to connect to the Wi-Fi, they can connect to the BYOT system. What exactly is that, and how does it work?
Well, it's actually underneath. It's an Aruba wireless enterprise system, and the way that it works is that you probably see, just like you would if you were at a hotel or at Starbucks, you see the different networks that are available, and there's three. There's the visitor network, the BYOT network, and then the district network. When you choose to use the district network, the idea is that you would be logging on from a district device. For example, a library computer, a lab computer, or one of the laptops or tablets that are in your classroom. So you're actually logging in and authenticating with your user ID and password, and you're using the district network. So in my mind, that's one container of access. The second is if you choose to move into BYOT, bring your own technology, then what you're really doing is you're jumping on, say, like a different highway of the network. And you're still required to log on and use your user ID and password. So it's still secure. It's not as if you can come in and use BYOT and just go to whatever site that you want to go to. It's still locked down because that's really our responsibility to provide you a safe environment. And it's really all based on profiles. And then there's the visitor network. And the visitor network is locked down from 8 to 2. And in order to get access to the visitor network, the principal and their designee have to authorize access to the visitor network. So that in a nutshell is somewhat how it works. It's very complicated, but we hope that what we've done is we've designed an enterprise wireless network that is secure and is flexible and meets the needs of our district users and students. Are you using the BYOT network? Yeah. How do you like it?
Let's do one more question.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It says in your bio you begin as a software engineer during NASA's space shuttle.
I can hear you.
Very well. What did you benefit from that?
I think a lot of training opportunities. It was a jump start in my career. It was very high tech, and so I'll never forget those years. A lot of stress associated with working in that environment with all software engineers. I think what I did gain from that primarily is the system of working as part of a very large team and working in a team environment and where there was a very focused vision about what we were accomplishing, and we were able to see that with every shuttle that took off, except for the Challenger, didn't come back, so. I was there at that time. But it's really the same here. The enthusiasm's the same at graduation, because you're really graduating a set of students that can then move out into the workforce or into college. So it's a little bit different, but it's the same concept.
So we had one more. She didn't get
Yes.
a question in someone's.
Hello, I'm Jasmine King at Cypress Ridge High School. I know that you worked for NASA at one point in time, but what made you decide to go from working with NASA as a software engineer to working with Epic Technologies to working in school districts such as Goose Creek and CFISD, and what was your most important lesson you learned?
Well, the only reason that I left was that I had 3 daughters, and my job required that I travel, and so I thought I could do it. I thought I could travel and manage a career and a family, but the fact of the matter is that I really couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. And as a female, and you're going to all be in that situation if you pursue a career. I had, like I said, the 3 daughters. The oldest one was in 2nd grade at the time, and I knew that I had to make a change, or that I was not going to. I started the conversation now about balance. I was not going to be able to balance all that I needed to do, so I made the change. And so what landed me in K-12 education was that I would be on the same schedule as my children with holidays. What I didn't realize was that it would be just as hard, if not harder. So the work isn't easier at all, but I do think that it's more conducive to being able to work in a balanced environment. I think, I learn lessons every day. Every day I drive to work and I reflect back on the day before. I think I have a great appreciation for how hard we all work on behalf of students, on behalf of doing everything in our power to make the next generation successful. Everyone in this room that is your teacher or your administrator, we all have that one goal. And so I'm always reminded of that lesson, and that's why we are all here, and that's why we care so much about trying to help you be successful. So those are the lessons that I think about every day.
So, who exactly are the internet providers, and what kind of a deal or plan does the district have with them?
Well, we got a big deal. We have 2. We have one called ICTX, which is the Interface Communications of Texas, and their contract's up for rebid next year. So working in this kind of environment, once you get the service, the bid for 1 year, we may have a 3 to 5 year contract, so we will be going out to rebid. The second is Cogent. Now we're looking at something even more innovative. Here's an example of how we constantly look at trying to do things better. We are looking to do what we're calling a peer-to-peer connection, so that we cut out, say, a Cogent or an ICTX, and we have a direct connection to, say, Google Fiber, or we have a direct connection to Microsoft. And so we're not having to share the network with either of those internet providers, and it would be just like having a 99 beltway directly to Google or directly to Office 365. So that's what we hope to bring next year to the district. And there's not anybody in the state that's doing that. And we're up with maybe 1 or 2 other districts that are being considered for that. That's going to change the way we do business.
All right. Thank you very much, Frankie,
Yes.
for talking. We have a little gift we wanted to give you. On behalf of the High School Journalism Network, this is a little
Thank you very much.
personalized tumbler that you can use for your beverages.
Yeah, I love a tumbler. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And then just final thank yous. Just thanks again to Cy Ridge and Raymond Vaquero, the advisor here, is doing an outstanding job once again for hosting. Thank you very much. Thank you to my communication team and coworkers for being here. Nicole Ray, our assistant superintendent, I think she might have stepped out. Gary Dernberger, our photographer. Leslie Francis, director of marketing and business relations. Hope I didn't miss anyone. Thank you all for being here and supporting. A lot of great story ideas came out of this. So timely stuff with the bond going on, stuff that affects your campus, stuff you can probably source some people at your school and kind of get their input on how technology affects them. So just be thinking about that. I wanted to give a shout out to Kirby, did a great timely story about food service based on our last press conference. It's a great story, Kirby. And then our next press conference won't be until January 18th, and we're tentatively looking at Langham Creek High School for that one. So don't have a guest booked yet. Appreciate your input if you have anyone you're interested in. So apart from that, we're going to take a group photo up here, so if everyone can come up here and get a photo. But thank you for being here.
Ask her first. Okay. So I can't log on to any other computer in my room other than mine. Yeah, that's what I said. I haven't got Snapchat. After I do the IT course, what computer do I have? Jersey Village. It's just a journalism room. I mean, what's wrong with this? They said it's a server issue, but I can't. On there's all it comes